Hello, hello. I am Pastor Rhonda, founder of Celebrate Life Cancer Ministry, and your host for Celebrate Life Today. We're over here having a great time laughing. We had actually started the program and we were not sharing it with you. So we are here now to bring you the conversation of what is HPV and why should my child be vaccinated. So with no further ado, Dr. Allison, please do share, do share.
Sure. Thank you so much, Pastor Rhonda. And I'm so happy to be here today to talk about HPV and also the HPV vaccine. So I'll go ahead and share some information related to HPV first. What is HPV? What does HPV stand for? So HPV stands for human papillomavirus. So HPV is a virus, and this is a highly infectious virus. So much so that 80% of people will get an HPV infection during their lifetime. Every single year, 14 million Americans will get infected with HPV. And why this is so concerning is because HPV can cause cancer in both men and women. Every single year in the United States alone, over 36,000 men and women are diagnosed with a cancer that is caused by HPV infection. So very serious virus. But the good news is that cancers caused by this virus are preventable. So we have a safe and effective vaccine to protect against HPV. And this is a vaccine that has been available for 15 years now. It's been available since 2006. And the HPV vaccine could prevent over 32,000 cancers in the United States every year. So at present, we know that there are at least 6 types of cancer that are caused by HPV. These include cervical, vaginal, vulvar, penile, anal, and oropharyngeal cancer or throat cancer. And these are very serious cancers that are debilitating for the individual who contracts the cancer, but also for their families and the people who love them, and they can lead to death.
So would it be safe to say that if a person has any of these, that they're all related to HPV, or are there other ways that, say, for instance, you could get throat cancer or that you could get penile cancer?
We know, for example, with cervical cancer that about 90% of those are caused by HPV. So there are some other ways, but the majority are being caused by HPV. Where throat cancer is concerned, we're finding that more and more throat cancers are associated with HPV. So it's a large proportion of these cancers that are caused by HPV.
That's interesting because I would think that throat cancer was more related to smoking.
I think that this is an interesting fact, right? With the decrease of smoking, there's less throat cancers associated with smoking. So now we see a greater proportion of these cancers are caused by HPV.
Wow, okay.
So the HPV vaccine is a vaccine that is recommended for young people, specifically recommended for ages 11 to 12, but you can begin vaccination as early as 9. And the good thing about starting early is that you need fewer doses of the vaccine. So even though we know vaccines are a good thing, and particularly a vaccine that can prevent cancer is a good thing, nobody wants to get extra shots. So, right? So if the vaccine is started before the age of 13, only 2 doses are needed. And if it's started after the 15th birthday, then 3 doses of the vaccine are needed. This is a free vaccine. Did you have a question?
So you said after 15, so they can get this vaccination up until what age?
So currently it is recommended up until age 26, 9 to 26, but younger the better. Like any vaccine, it's going to be most effective if you don't come into contact with the virus. So given this virus it spreads so easily and it's so common with so many people contracting it in their lifetime, the earlier that you get the vaccine, the more likely you're going to be protected against contracting the virus. So the longer you wait, the more likely that you're going to come into contact with that virus. So it is recommended up until age 26, and recently they've expanded the availability. Some young adults and even people up to age 45 had expressed a strong interest in obtaining the vaccine. And so now it is available. People can obtain it from their doctor, have a conversation, and can get it still up until age 45. In those instances, it may not be a free vaccine, wouldn't be covered certainly by the Vaccine for Children's program, but it may be covered by various insurances. And that's a conversation people could have with their doctor. But what we know for youth, unfortunately, is even though we've had this vaccine around for 15 years, still less than half of youth in the United States have gotten at least one dose of the vaccine even. So this is an amazing tool that we have available to us in the fight against cancer, but it's something that is just not being taken up at the rates that we would hope. And so this is really concerning, and we want to do everything that we can to spread the word that we have this tool in our toolkit, and there are things that we can do to protect our children in particular from developing cancer later in life. That's an amazing thing to think about as a parent or caregiver or a loved one, that you could help prevent cancer, at least 6 types of cancer that we know of so far, from developing in your child. So what a tremendous gift to be able to give to your child. To help spread the word, my team at UCLA and our partners at Charles Drew University have worked on developing a social media toolkit. So I wanted to share about that today in case others are interested in helping spread the word. So we created a toolkit. We're trying to move into the modern age along with Pastor Rhonda, who is very technologically savvy. So we created this toolkit to share messages and captions that people could put on their various social media feeds. Some images, some videos, some handouts, and also links to other resources. So we have the toolkit available on our website. The link to the website is there. It's healthequity.ucla.edu. And all these resources are available for free. You can download them on the site. Because our work has been focusing specifically in South LA, you'll find on the site a general version of the toolkit that provides some data and references about HPV in general. And then there's one that's specific to South LA. So if folks are really trying to reach out or share information that's specific to South LA, there's a South LA version of the toolkit. One reason that we really want to focus in South LA is that we know, when I mentioned that less than half of youth have gotten one dose of the HPV vaccine, we know locally in South LA, it's about a third. So that's a place where we want, even fewer youth, even less than half have gotten at least one dose of this vaccine. So we really want to do everything we can to spread the word that this is available, it's free, it's safe, it's effective, and it can protect children from developing cancer.
So what type of information are they going to be able to find? Is it interactive?
Sure, let me show you. This shows kind of, these little GIF images are in the toolkit as well. So if you click on, these are the kinds of things sometimes people like to share online. So it'll illustrate little snippets. Parents, did you know you can protect your child from cancer? And explains what the HPV virus is. It's a common virus that can cause 6 types of cancer. And so kind of move slowly through these images, and that getting the vaccine can help prevent your child from getting a cancer later in life, and that it's available and you should make an appointment today. Other things that are available in the toolkit are lists of clinics and places where people could go to get the vaccine. So we have those provided as well. Other bits of information, captions that you could include in the social media post are also there. So you don't have to think these things up on your own. You can do a quick cut and paste and include a caption that we've already prepared. This link that is shown in the kit will help help folks to find a health center where they could get their child vaccinated if that's something that they need to do, if they don't have a regular place of healthcare or a regular healthcare provider. So those are the types of information that we provided. We also have some handouts, links to other sources of information from reputable sources. We know how really challenging it is for people today with so much information out there. It's wonderful that we're able to communicate in this way like we are today, particularly during these times with COVID. We can maintain some type of connection with people, but it's also really overwhelming to try and sift through all the information and sort out fact from fiction and rumors and myths and really get down to, you know, what is the truth and what is reliable information. So we try to help people find reliable sources of information. We know there is a lot of misinformation floating around by, from people, really well-intentioned people trying to, they hear something and they want to share that information with people they care about, their family, their friends. And so that's how information gets passed along, but the information isn't always accurate. So we really want to try and help do the best that we can, particularly where HPV and the HPV vaccine is concerned, to spread accurate information, share accurate information, and get the word out so that more young people can get vaccinated and we can prevent cancer. So that's really the goal and the reason that we created this kit. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen there so we can just look at each other and chat a little bit. Here, there we go.
So one thing that I heard many years ago was boys have HPV but don't know it. Where it is visual, it makes itself more visible on girls.
Yeah, well, HPV, in addition to causing cancer, it can cause warts, including genital warts, which sometimes when you're talking with youth themselves, parents are very concerned about cancer. Young people sometimes, especially the older teens, the warts are a very, very scary idea. So, that could present itself equally for males and females. It may not be that the males are associating it with HPV or the family members. They may be attributing it to something else. But that is another thing in addition to cancer that is caused by HPV. But the cancers themselves, we have screening for some of these cancers that are caused by HPV. Cervical cancer, for example, we have screening, but all of the cancers we don't have screening for. So unfortunately, like all cancers, the sooner you find them, the better the outlook is. But where we don't have screening and they don't have a lot of noticeable symptoms, it's often quite late by the time that an individual will find out that they have one of these cancers.
So what kind of symptoms are they looking for? Are young people looking for? I don't know, is it burning?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think this is, one of the big reasons that HPV is spread so far and so wide, because it is highly infectious and it has very few symptoms. So unless an individual was someone who had gotten the warts, they wouldn't really have symptoms of having this virus. So we think of like a flu virus, you feel sick or achy or really, really bad, and you need to stay home in bed. People can have the HPV virus and not know it at all. And that really is something that helps this virus spread so well.
Wow. So I see why. And so the age group that is recommended to receive the vaccine, that's why they say it's best if you can start it before the child is sexually permissive.
Absolutely, before any types of encounters. And this is I guess some of the issue that we've encountered with the HPV vaccine as people associate it with sexual activity. And of course, no one wants to think about that and their child, particularly when they're quite young. And so people feel that it's okay to wait. I could wait because why would I need this for my child when they're 11? I can wait a long time. But that's precisely why you need it for your child when they're 11, because this isn't on the table. They're not thinking about this. That's exactly when you want to get the vaccine, long before it's even becoming a possibility.
So if you waited until, hoping that you've had a conversation with your child and hoping that they would come to you and ask or inquire or something, which we know rarely happens. What happens if they've already begun? Can they still get the vaccine there
They
if they
can
have not
absolutely
been?
still get the vaccine.
Okay.
Absolutely can still get the vaccine. So one of the things about this virus is that it is so common, and everyone won't get cancer who gets it. And some people, just like the flu or other viruses, like we've even seen with COVID and coronaviruses, some people get it and can clear it all on their own and they'll be okay. But we don't know who those people are going to be. We have no way of knowing if your child would be one who gets it and can clear it all on their own and go along, be fine. They could still spread it to other people, or if they're going to be someone who develops a life-threatening cancer. So that's really why we, want as many young people as possible to get vaccinated.
So say they are diagnosed, then what?
So that's a time to, really have a conversation with the healthcare provider. And when they're able to identify this, depending on how it's identified and what the presentation is, then the healthcare provider can help work with you to determine what's the best course of action, and make sure that we're doing everything we can to not spread this virus, and then also ultimately still possibly get vaccinated to protect you from additional future infections with this virus.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. It is. It's also, it's an old-fashioned word, but for lack of a better term, it's heavy. It's heavy to think about young people and then think of them developing cancer, right? It's not a place where you want to go, and it's hard to think about. It's very scary, and I know the whole purpose of Celebrate Life and the Celebrate Life Cancer Ministries is about helping to prevent cancer and help people live better after they've had cancer. So this is one way that is actually relatively simple that we can prevent a large number of cancers.
So if a child were, no, that's not it. It's okay. So say you present with cancer 26, 30, is it easy to figure out that this was an HPV that started a long time ago? Or is it something that you just encountered and so it's beginning to show itself? How does that part work?
Yeah, like most cancers, cancer takes a long time to develop, right? So it's not like you contract this virus and then next year you have cancer. And again, these are cancers where unfortunately they don't have a lot of signs until people are quite sick, until the cancers are quite advanced. So cervical cancer is a little different because we do have reliable screening tests for cervical cancer. And so there, if you can detect it early, then the prognosis can be quite good for people. But at the same time, we know that everyone isn't getting screened. Many people are not getting screened. And so in that case, again, it tends not to be until it's very far along that people identify these cancers. And at that point, it's not too late, but the treatments are going to be more aggressive and more debilitating, and the outlook is not going to be as good.
So is there only one type of HPV, or because we even hear strains of COVID, strain of this, a
Right.
strain of that. If it's a virus, I don't know, do all viruses come in strains?
The HPV virus also comes in strains, and you're going to test my knowledge because I almost will have to look it up again how many strains we know there are. But there are many strains of the virus, but the vaccine, importantly, and some of the strains of the virus do not cause cancer.
Okay, got it.
But the vaccine is protecting against those strains of the virus that are causing cancer. That's the really important part.
Okay. Okay, wow.
I know as a society as a whole, given this pandemic, we are learning a lot about viruses, or at least, hearing a lot more viruses and vaccines too.
Yeah. Wow, this is so enlightening. So what should a young person do? Um, how should they handle it? We're pretty much bringing this from the parents' perspective, but how should a young person handle this conversation?
Yeah, generally, a healthcare provider will recommend the HPV vaccine around age 11 or 12. And really, part of the reason for that is there are other vaccines that are recommended at that age, and several of them are also required for school. So a healthcare provider, we call this bundling the vaccine. So a healthcare provider will often recommend the vaccine at that age when it's, your child is due for a couple vaccines today. And then they might list like 3 vaccines, and HPV would be one of those vaccines. So that's part of the reason for that age, is it's a relatively convenient age when many children are visiting the doctor, often in the summertime before school starts. They need these physicals for school entry, to participate in sports or other programs. And so that's the time that it would often come up in a doctor's office. But the child could ask for the vaccine also. It's something that they could do on their own if they wanted. They could certainly ask the provider for it at that visit.
Do they talk about this in school? I have no idea.
I don't think they talk about it a whole lot at school, honestly.
Because if we don't talk about it at school, we're not talking about it at home, because some parents have their feelings about vaccinations, period. If the school has not said this is a requirement, if you haven't really been, because let's talk about SPA 6, South Central Los Angeles. If you haven't been to the doctor unless somebody says go, because you're generally in good health or regular health,
right?
Regular. Right. Then who's talking about this to the age group that really needs it if they're not that regular person going to the doctor?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a really good question, right? I think right now what you're doing, broadcasting, spreading the word, sharing this information is what we need to happen, right? We need to get the word out and to try and use modes of communication also that resonate with young people as well, to get the information out there in its simple ways with clear images and clear messages.
So this is like a good one. I have all kinds of thoughts just popping in my head right now. So if you don't know the answer to this, it's okay, because this is okay. But if a young person, can they just walk into a facility and say, I would like to have this? Is there somebody that's automatically making the vaccine available to any young person that walks in the door? Like you can go to the Watts Health Foundation and walk in for a breast exam. I don't know if there's some place where the young people could do that, because maybe they don't want to tell their parents that they're sexually active.
HPV vaccine is interesting in that way because young people can get the vaccine on their own, because it is protected exactly for the reason that you're saying. So young people may visit places, for reproductive health services.
Okay.
Sexual health services, and they can do that I'll say anonymously, but that's not totally accurate. Of course, the provider knows who they are, but they can do that without having their parent with them, without sharing that information. And so the HPV vaccine can be provided in those settings, and young people could seek it out on their own.
So that's like a Planned Parenthood kind of place?
Or clinics, local neighborhood clinics provide these services. They often have, they'll call it like a reproductive health clinic, or sometimes there's a women's health clinic. That's leaving the boys a little behind in that area. But often it's the young ladies, unfortunately we know this too, who are held responsible for taking care of the health of themselves and ensuring that they can stay as healthy as possible. So that's happening. And we know, throughout life, oftentimes it's women who are looking out after the health of their whole family and their whole community, right? Nothing against men, but we women have that nurturing aspect to us, and we want to make sure that everyone stays as healthy as possible.
And then I guess if a young person were watching, if they found out that they have the HPV, what is it? It's if they end up with virus, okay. Then it make it their responsibility to bring the conversation up with their friends, even if they don't say I have it. They could have learned this information and how it impacts individuals their ages. Even if they made it to be the college age, there should be a conversation somewhere where they are putting this topic on the table, because I know we spend a lot of time, I want to say as young people, but grown people too,
Yeah.
where we talk about everything that is nonsense, and we don't spend enough time on some of the things that are important and affecting many of us. So to begin to, to have that conversation, even if it's just, one day a month, where they could all get together as friends and sit down and say, great, let's talk about something that has brought in, I almost want to say a revolution, so that just talk about it. Whether you decide to get vaccinated or you decide not to, at least you're equipped with the information and give you tools to go talk to your doctor, or get a doctor so that you can go talk to your doctor.
Absolutely. I think it's one amazing thing about young people is they're so energetic and feel so empowered, and so they're so courageous. They'll say things oftentimes that some of us would worry about saying because we don't want to be perceived the wrong way, or we don't want to offend someone. And young people don't always have that filter, right? So this is one of those places where that can really help. They can help, really spread the word, and, armed with accurate information, it's really empowering, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that you can do to keep yourself healthy, but young people can do to keep their friends healthy. And again, like you said, not saying that anyone has to do it or not do it, or telling anyone what to do, but helping them to find accurate information and to learn the facts, right? And this is even something I think of, honestly, as like a social justice issue, right? Because frankly, the cancers, cervical cancer is a great example. There are more Black and brown women dying from cervical cancer than there are white women. They're less likely to get screened for cervical cancer. That makes the vaccine even so much more important, because if you're not going to have that screening test reliably, having the vaccine then is going to protect you from that cancer that you wouldn't find with the screening test, right? And these other cancers that aren't showing up, it's a protection. So, all of our communities should be getting vaccinated at the same rates. It makes me upset. I'm sure it's something that would make you upset too, that, why in South LA is it a third of kids if it's a half of kids in West LA? Half isn't great, and we can do better, but it's better than a third, and it shouldn't be that way. So I think of it in that way too, as something, to empower everyone and young people too to, keep your community healthier. And it's an equity issue, really. There shouldn't be these differences, and there's things that we can do to change it.
Gee, I had a question and it's slipping right on through my fingers because this is good stuff for me. um, I don't know. It's gone. Is there anything you'd like to say before we go?
I'd just like to say, I think, you're talking about the opportunity for people and young people, but for all people to have these conversations. And I think that now is a great opportunity because a door has opened and people are talking a lot about the COVID vaccine and about this debilitating virus. And people are concerned about it, and it has become political, and there's views on either side. And some people are concerned about the vaccine for the coronavirus because it's new. And we could have a whole nother show about that. But it can open the door to a conversation about the HPV vaccine, because the HPV vaccine has been around for 15 years. We have so much data to show that this is a safe and effective vaccine. So I think it can open a door when there's a conversation about vaccines even, and sometimes they can go in an uncomfortable place, but it's an opportunity to say, did you know there's a vaccine that can prevent cancer? The HPV vaccine can prevent cancer. That's wow. I mean, and that can be a really mind-blowing moment for someone to hear that, because we don't think about getting a shot in your arm to protect you from cancer. That's not the kind of thing we think about doing. So I do encourage people, to the extent that they're comfortable, to have these conversations and to look for, these kind of natural openings that I think we're having more and more now.
So there's my question. So is the history of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So, because we talk about if for, like in my case, so I am a 20-year breast cancer survivor this year.
Congratulations! What a great anniversary.
And if I had a daughter, she should start being screened for cancer, breast cancer at least, 10 years earlier than me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I was 40, then she would start at 30.
Correct.
But if a child is diagnosed with HPV, how does that affect their children?
Well, this is a virus that's sort of an equal opportunity offender. So it's just highly infectious, and it's going to infect most of us in our lifetime. So where the virus is concerned, you asked earlier about cancers. Are all these cancers caused by HPV? And the reality is the majority of them are, but there are a small portion of those cancers that are going to be caused by other factors. And some of those are genetic. And so that's, an unfortunate reality. But at the same time, even knowing if you had a family history of cancer, that you could protect yourself or your children or other people in your family from this large section of cancers. You can't protect against everything, but you still can protect them from a big chunk of it. We could stop a big chunk of it. So that's really, it's not a total solution, and it doesn't protect against every kind of cancer or every cancer that could develop even among these 6 types, but it is the majority. It is the vast majority of these cancers.
So is there anything I can do to prevent getting it?
To prevent getting HPV?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same things that you could do. Gosh, I mean, safer. It's very hard to say because it's highly transmissible, I would say. I'm reluctant to say that you could do anything to be certain that you will prevent it.
Except avoid it.
Well, right, but it's transmitted in, it is intimate contact, but it's skin to skin contact, and it's highly transmissible. So, we are very social creatures, and we have close personal relationships, and it's so highly transmissible that I would be really reluctant to say that there's, you can do everything that you can, and certainly, be safer
Okay,
and
I'm gonna throw this
reduce
out
your
there.
odds, but
If it's skin to skin, can kissing do it?
you cannot promise that you can prevent it, right?
Wow.
So it's hard to make those types of absolute statements. There's always things that we can do to be safer, but there's no absolute guarantees.
Wow. That's
But you can get the vaccine, and that's going to really go a long way.
Okay. Wow. This is good. This is good. And no one has asked us any questions yet on online. So
Well, hopefully that means we've been super clear.
or they're sitting back thinking like me. It's like, wow. Wow. But
or they're making an appointment.
Okay. We try to do everything we can to protect our children, to provide them with the information, the education, the tools, the toolkit, to be able to talk about things that they're being affected by. And I guess what I want to say to the young people or to anyone that is that runs into any kind of health challenge, don't wait till it becomes this huge problem. Don't wait till you can't stand it any longer. Don't wait until you go to the doctor the next time, a year from now or longer. When you see something, say something. When you know something, say something. Find someone in your life that you trust and that you can tell anything to. And that's not everybody. You cannot tell everybody your business, but find that person that you can trust. If it's not your parents, that is an adult that will help navigate you to the help that you need so that you can get it handled as soon as possible. Because the last thing you could do, you want to do, is wait until it's out of control, and then they say, we're not sure if there's anything else we can do for you. Wow. All right. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I know, if any folks are watching or listening, often for me, I can hear a lot of information and the questions don't come right away. So if things crop up for people, feel free to send me an email. I'm happy to talk about it or help identify resources. And my email is up there on the screen.
Awesome. And again, thank you, Dr. Alison Herrmann from UCLA, for the time that you've taken and sharing with us. And again, I'm Pastor Rhonda, founder of Celebrate Life Cancer Ministry, and we are here to provide support to those going through the cancer journey. If you are a cancer survivor, you were recently diagnosed, you're a caregiver, and you're looking for answers to be able to serve the person that's in your life that's been directly affected by cancer, please feel free to reach out to us. You can reach us by our email, which is here on the screen, celebratelife2021@gmail.com, or feel free to give us a call at 323-577-5443. And feel free to help us stay on the air on the Hope Broadcasting Network. We are here every Wednesday at 1 o'clock on the Hope Broadcasting Network, which streams on the Roku TV or on your internet. And so we're here to provide support and service to you. And as I always say, until next time, choose life.